Welcome to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend, the show that never cashes out. Hey, if you've come to not watch me gloat about the New York Mets landing Juan Soto, well, you've turned into the wrong TV show, my friends. We'll get to that in a moment. I promise it'll be painless. Listen, bowl season's here, the NBA Cup is here, Heisman Trophy presentation, and only 4 weeks left of the NFL regular season. So much to bet on, so little time. In a few minutes, we're going to break the rules with Fox Sports NFL and college football rules analyst Dean Blandino. Then, Brother Bri and I will give out our best bets for all the Week 15 NFL games. That's all on the way, but first, let's recap the NFC West battle from last night at Levi's Stadium between the 49ers and Rams. All right, here we go. LA Rams, San Francisco Niners. This rivalry goes back to the early 1400s, I think. Much respect between the two teams, so much that they refused to score on each other in the first quarter, other than this measly Jake Moody field goal. But look, rain! Maybe that'll slop things up. Nope. Punt, 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 punt. Rams kick a wet three-pointer to even things at the half. Second half, 2 more field goals, 1 from each team. Boring. Why do we bother even showing them? Rams ahead 9-6 now with a little over 5 minutes left. Purdy driving, and Purdy crashes. Interception. Rams run out the clock. Add another field goal. 12-6. LA wins. And the guy Amazon wants us to believe is Trent Williams is none too pleased. All right, that's my Thursday night recap. I feel like Al is gaining enthusiasm as the non-vegetarian Christmas menu comes closer and closer into focus. Now, it's time for perhaps our most dangerous segment. It involves our producer, Babyface Joel Solomon. He's right there. He's going to throw a crumpled up piece of paper with a thought written on it. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts on the issue. We call this Tossing Topic. All right, Babyface, hit me. Bang. Soto deal. All right, let's get to it. The biggest, best news of the week. No, not the McRib being back. That's a close runner-up. Juan Soto's record-breaking 15-year, $765 million deal with the New York Metropolitans. Yes, congrats to owner Uncle Steve Cohen and all my fellow Met fans out there. And before you say, oh, but Sal, it's so much money.
But Sal, it's so much money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's not my money. And last time I checked, Steve Cohen didn't form a Kickstarter campaign to sign Juan Soto. He's paying for it with his own bar mitzvah loot. The guy wants to bring a World Series to Queens, and God bless him if he wants to spend like a king to do it. Look, if I had $765 million laying around, I'd probably spend it differently. There'd be an In-N-Out truck in every driveway in America, courtesy of yours truly. All right, everybody just relax. These deals are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. That's how they work. Let me give you some perspective. Take picture Kevin Brown, 1998, over 25 years ago, he signs a then record-breaking $105 million deal with the Dodgers over 7 years. Guess what? Now Kevin Brown is dead broke and makes his living getting paid to pitch gender reveals. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but honestly, by the year 2030, who even knows what our currency will be? The Hawk Tua girl will probably be paying us all in Spitcoin. Here's one thing I do think Juan Soto should do. As a show of goodwill, on opening day, Juan Soto should buy the first round of $35 beers and $20 hot dogs to everyone in the park. I'm being serious. Pick up the entire Citi Field tab. It's the least you could do, Juan, and so help me God, if you're hitting 200 in August, I'm going to send my friend Brad to rob you during the road trip in Toronto. Just kidding. Brad is squeaky clean, except for the rib sauce soaked in his fingers. All right, give me another one, Babyface. Dr. Pepper Challenge. Ugh. The Dr. Pepper Challenge was a challenge to watch last weekend. Look at this mess. For $100,000, instead of tossing it like a normal person would, co-ed contestants are basketball chest passing the pigskin into the holes. I'm sorry that I demand a little integrity if I'm watching kids throw a football through a giant can of Dr. Pepper, but there's real scholarship money on the line. I want to see real football throws. And while everyone else was fixated on reporter Ashley Shah Ahmadi, I couldn't stop looking at how bad we've become at hurling footballs for glory. Let's call this what it is. It's Papa Shot in a dome. This is why America is falling behind. Come on, Dr. Pepper, forget Big Pharma. I want to see Big Forma, as in where is the form in these tosses? If you feel like I'm making too big a deal of this, you're right, I am. But think of it this way. If this was a full court $1 million shot during halftime of the Clippers-Lakers game, you wouldn't be okay if the contestant punted the ball through the net, would you? It's like if everyone in the Olympic high dive just started doing cannonballs. We could do better, and we should demand better. So, doctor's orders, next year, if someone continues the chest pass thing, they should get tackled by a giant can of Mountain Dew. Either that, or let's can it with throwing at cans. All right, what's next, Babyface? That's good. You're 3 for 3 today. College football playoff. All right, the college football playoff needed to be fixed. Everyone agreed. And so what did the NCAA do? Instead of getting it right, they did a crappy, half-assed HDTV-esque renovation process. This should have been so easy, like making mashed potatoes, but somehow they added too much milk and SMU and gummed up the works. And I know the problem, or at least one of the problems. Look at the committee that voted on this. Look at these guys. It's like a TV leisure hour at the convalescent home. These are the people that watch the game. They look like they're all asleep by 6 p.m. They really should just let FanDuel do it and rank the teams by look-ahead point spreads. But they're not going to do this, so we need someone who's younger, someone more in touch, and actually watches the games. And I propose Timothy Chalamet. Yes, we were all mesmerized with the Dune Dude on College Game Day last week. Turns out he's more Bob Stoops than Bob Dylan. He's got some gridiron knowledge. On the face, he appears like he's attended college for the last 2 decades and for the next 2 decades, so that's good. Plus, added bonus, he's easy on the eyes, and unlike these other dinosaurs, hopefully he isn't going to die before the Rose Parade. You got the gig, Chalamet. Don't let me down, and we look forward to you presenting the NCAA Golden Ticket next January. All right, that does it for Tossing Topics. Now it's time for my irrationally angry attempt to make rational sense of a somewhat irrational bet. It's Wager Rager. Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're flying high with 11 wins, looking at no worse than a 2 seed in the NFC, but there seem to be some problems in the city of brotherly love. It appears Jalen may have hurt wide receiver A.J. Brown's feelings by not getting him the ball. Take a look at this.
What are the conversations like with Jalen during a game like this, where maybe the passing game isn't everything you want it to be?
Not too much conversation, honestly. I don't know.
Now, they've since smooched through their face masks and made up, but I agree with the overall sentiment that Jalen Hurts has been very selfish this season. He's tied for the league lead in touchdown runs with 13, and forget A.J. Brown for a second. MVP candidate Saquon Barkley has pretty much done all the work. He gets the Eagles to the goal line only to have Jalen Hurts get his buttocks shoved in for the score. I could back this up with actual numbers. Saquon Barkley, look at this. He's been tackled at the 1-yard line a league high 11 times. 10 of those resulted in a Jalen Hurts 1-yard touchdown. This is like me getting credit for my wife giving birth because I lifted the baby from the womb. Gross, I know, but let's just call this what it is. Jalen Hurts is the Christopher Columbus of finding the end zone. That's the Rager. Here's my wager. We're going to bet the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria on Jalen to have the most rushing touchdowns this year at plus 190, and at the end of the season, you could all feel free to tush-push me into a pile of cash. All right, let's take a quick break. Later on, we'll make our picks on the Keystone Classic showdown between the Steelers and Eagles. But after the break, I'm going to talk to rules analyst Dean Blandino on Chiefs conspiracies, coin flips, kickoffs, everything. Next on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. All right, let's bring in our guest. Not since Siskel and Ebert back in the 80s have TV audiences relied so much on one person's reviews. He's the NFL and college football rules analyst for Fox Sports, Dean Blandino. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. I love that intro, Siskel and Ebert. That's nice.
Yeah. I think you've surpassed them, but who am I? I don't want to get into trouble here. I have so many dumb things to ask you about rules and rule proposals, so buckle in. But in general, I think the officials have done a good job in the NFL this year, but I wanted to know, when the broadcast team comes to you, do you feel a tiny bit of an obligation to defend the referee's call on the field, everything else equal?
It's a great question. And it's one of those, when I first went into this role, you have relationships with people, you build those relationships over time. There's a lot of trust there. And then you're out there on the broadcast, and sometimes you may disagree with a call, or you may not like what was done. And I think you have to just separate the two. I've always taken the approach, I'm going to give my opinion. I'm not going to, if I don't agree with something, I need to express that. But I think there's a way to do it without being mean-spirited, right? Without throwing them under the bus to say, hey, look, I didn't like this call. Here's probably what they were looking at. So I think there's a way to do it respectfully that you can get the point across without really burying them.
All right, I think you should be a little more mean-spirited, but that's
Okay,
just me.
all right, that's
Whatever you want
fine.
to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of mean-spirited, there are a ton of Kansas City Chiefs conspiracy theorists out,
Yes.
and they seem to be in full force this season, despite the fact that the numbers tell you otherwise. If you want to look, they're the second most penalized, whatever. It's crazy. What do you say to fans like my pal Harry, who insists they're getting crucial calls in their favor and that the league is in on it?
Well, never let the facts get in the way of a good conspiracy, right? And we've heard this over time. I mean, and anytime a team is successful, we heard this with the Patriots, right? The Patriots were doing all these different things, and now the Chiefs get all the calls, but it doesn't happen. The Chiefs are a very good team. They've got very good players. They're coached very well. And sometimes, yeah, there have been high profile plays where a call goes in favor of the Chiefs. That stuff tends to work itself out over time. It balances out. Believe me, and I've got very close family members who I will not name who believe that I was in on the conspiracy as the head of officials and that I've signed an NDA from when I left the NFL and I can't talk about it. That's people that I grew up with in the same household believe that.
Uncle Jerry, drunk Uncle Jerry thinks that? Is that who it is? I'm just going to keep guessing
Uncle
names
Leo,
until you say
Uncle Leo.
Uncle Leo.
Yeah.
Right. The replay assist. I love it. I'm not sure I understand it, but I think the gist of it is there's a crew that could immediately or somewhat immediately overturn a call on the field if they see it clear and concisely. I'm not sure what the verbiage is, but I want it for more. I feel like it's limited right now. Where do you see it? Is this going to be expanded in the future? What is it supposed to cover right now?
Right now, it's supposed to cover objective things, catch, no catch, right? The ball hitting the ground, the foot stepping out of bounds, the knee being down. And it is a little clunky at times because it's like, okay, is the coach going to challenge this? Is replay assist going to do it? The theory is if it's obvious, right? The officials rule catch and it's clear the ball's on the ground and they try to get it done before there's 20 seconds or less on the play clock. So if they can do it in that window, they can say, hey, ball's on the ground, incomplete, make a quick announcement, and away we go. So I think that's in theory what it's meant for. I think it does work. There are going to be those plays where it feels a little clunky, but they're definitely going to expand it. You watch the number of missed face mask calls we've had this year, the Monday night game this week with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Another example, I think they're going to look at that. I really do. And I don't know, the competition committee has always taken more of a measured approach. And I think this is going to be something they may dip their toes in the water on some of these other subjective calls like a face mask.
Interesting. Okay. So now we're getting into the deep waters with calls that have not been made, but that they see. Like, so for instance, I think you could start at least with pre-snap plays. So when the right tackle on the Chiefs is moving 3.5 seconds before the snap, I feel like that could be right now. Replay assist can't help that, but that might be something,
Correct.
right? Okay.
It might, yeah. You want to deal with something that's as objective as possible because there is so much subjectivity, right? We saw what happened with pass interference back in 2019. There's a lot of subjectivity. I would hate to see holding calls, those types of things go to review. But I think there is a window, an opportunity to correct some of these. There was a big missed false start in the Rams-Bills game on 4th down that you would hope you could get an opportunity to correct that.
You talked about pass interference. I feel like uncatchable has not been called in years. And then it was called the other night in the Chiefs, actually against the Chiefs, which is interesting. Why was there an unspoken rule that like, hey, we're going to treat almost everything like it's a catchable ball?
It's interesting, yes. But from my experience, when I started in the officiating department mid 90s, that was the way I was taught, that you have the greatest athletes in the world. So in order for it to be uncatchable, it really has to be obvious, right? Just assume that receiver can make a play on the ball.
The other thing that drives me nuts is when there's a holding call about 10 yards from the play.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be treated as uncatchable is? Like, yeah, that's a penalty, but it had nothing to do with the result because it was on the other side of the field.
Absolutely. And that's been part of the challenge with offensive holding. You always hear, well, you could call holding on any play. Yes, I think there's holding that occurs, right? The actual act of grabbing the jersey. But your point, that's the thing. Does it have an impact on the play? Is it at the point of attack? Because what if the running back cuts back to the other side, that hold now has an impact. So you got to kind of be careful with saying, it's totally doesn't have an effect. And that's part of the challenge with officiating calls like that.
So you think it's more likely that an official would just hold his flag and say, all right, that is far from the play, versus them making it an official rule and saying, hey, we're now going to call or not call holding plays that have nothing to do with the result of the run?
Yeah, I think it's up to the official to have to make those decisions, their discretion when the play is, because they're watching the play. They have to see how it develops and decide if it has an impact or not.
Okay. I feel like I'm doing very well with you right now with these questions. I do want to add one. So we saw the first game of the year on Amazon, right? And it was Isaiah Likely had his some kind of toenail out of bounds, and the Chiefs won as a result, and the Ravens lost. The comment was made that they may not, if this was like a 1 p.m. Eastern window with 8 games, one of those games may not have the camera angle to overturn that. Is that fair to you, that where the Colts Jags kicking off at 1 Eastern, you need a Zapruder film type luck in terms of getting an angle versus some of these other high profile games?
That was one of the things when we brought replay back into the NFL in 1999, that was a big part of the discussion. Not all games have the same cameras, right? You're dealing with a C or D crew, an early game on Sunday that might have as few as 8 cameras. When you think about Sunday night or Monday night, that could have up to 20 cameras. I think the league is implementing and putting more static cameras in right now. They're called boundary line cameras. So every stadium going into 2025 will have these cameras on the boundary lines. So I think that'll help alleviate some of those issues.
Why can't we standardize it? Because the league can't make $17 billion and they make 16.75. Like, what's the difference? Have 20 cameras in each stadium.
The NFL, and I love the NFL. I spent a long time there, but they do for an organization that makes as much money as they do. Yeah. They certainly don't spend it like they have an unending supply, which again, it's smart business. That's not to see other companies don't do that.
Right. All right. I don't know if you saw this the other night, Georgia, Texas, the SEC championship game. They come out for overtime, and the official tosses the coin and catches the coin.
Oh my God!
Seemed a little aggressive, right?
Oh, he did it before. And look, he did it before the opening. Right. Call. I've never seen that, and I just feel like too much can go wrong because he's flipping it. And as he's flipping, he's going, if I drop it, we do it again. I'm like, just let it hit the ground. Like, why are we messing around with this? I mean, I was involved. Clete Blakeman, NFL referee, it was a playoff game. It was overtime. He flipped the coin. It never turned over. And he had to flip it again. And it was bizarre. We've seen some coin toss controversies over the years. We don't need any more.
Okay. What are we doing to make this tush push illegal already? Let's do it. It's ruining the game.
I've always been anti tush push. I don't look. Eagles do it very well. I get it. It's not against the rules. It used to be against the rules. You couldn't push the runner. I think it's an
What was wrong
fix.
with that? Why couldn't they stick with that?
They just didn't officiate it, and then they took it out, which I don't think is the right approach. It's easy. You can get rid of the tush push, and then if you don't want to get involved in downfield and did they push him? Did they do? That's fine. But the tush push is easy. Everybody knows what it is, and you just can't push. You can't push the quarterback into. I just think it's a play. I remember hearing Jason Kelsey after he retired. He hated that play. Loved the results, but being a part of that, being the center on that play, I just think it could end up being a dangerous play.
All right. I don't even know if you're allowed to give a Super Bowl pick, but I'm going to ask.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm allowed. I'm not in officiating anymore.
Yeah.
I grew up in Long Island in New York. I grew up a Giants fan. Okay. So I'm certainly not, and my kids are now Giants fans. So the Giants, that's a whole nother story.
It's not going to be them. I'll give you a hint.
It's not going to be them, hint. Right? Yeah. So they're out. So I'm pulling for 2 teams that haven't won a Super Bowl. I think it would be an incredible matchup. We have the game on Fox Sports. I think both fan bases are probably some of the hungriest and most downtrodden fan bases. I'm I'm rooting for a Lions-Bills Super Bowl matchup.
That was my preseason pick.
Yep,
I think it's a good
love it.
one.
I love
I
it.
think it's solid. Everybody gets what they want, except whoever loses that game. Yeah, for sure. All right, Dean, before we let you go, now you're always reviewing football plays. You did a nice thing for us. My friend Harry caught a pass kind of against Vince Young, and we had you review it. Actually, it wasn't that nice. We paid you. It was a cameo, but I appreciate you doing it anyway. I want to show you something. This is not from an NFL or a college game. This is from a wedding, one that I didn't attend. And this is a tossing of a bouquet. And I would like you to determine if this is a catch or not a catch and who has possession, which bridesmaid has possession. Okay.
All right.
All right. This is a tough one. I'm going to preface it with that. All right. Let Mikey Meatballs play it for Dean. There you go.
Okay. I can already see who's going to be.
So you have tattooed girl, and then you have non-tattooed girl.
I knew she was going to be the problem.
Yeah, always is.
Oh my!
Do you want to see it again? It was tough.
Let me just get one more. I actually want to see how this plays out at the end too. But
it's bad. Yeah, they stab each other during the serving of the cake.
Okay, so all right.
Well, one more?
No. Well, okay. What is there a ruling on the field? I mean, who did they?
They're still fighting for it. I don't know. I don't think there's a ruling. No, it's been years.
I'm looking at, because we don't really have offense defense, because typically a simultaneous catch would go to the offense. I don't think we have offense defense. I'm going with the girl, the non-tattoo girl. She had control first.
Okay.
And then the tattoo girl came in and tried to pull it away. They're still fighting for it. And on the field, this would be survival of the fittest. I don't think the girl on the ground is ever letting it go. But I'm going with the girl, the other chick. She had control. She completed the process.
All right. And now, is this a reviewable play by like the groom or maybe the father who paid for the wedding?
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, that's their future, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're going to get married, where they're going to go. But yeah, I think that's a reviewable play.
Dean Blandino, as always, you could see him helping make the call on Fox NFL and college football. Thanks so much for being here, Dean.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with Brother Bri to break down the Week 15 NFL slate next on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend.
Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Hey, we're going to keep things rolling with our next guest. Much like Santa Claus, this guy always makes a list, checks it twice, except his list is all gambling related. It's kind of sad. From the Against All Odds podcast, you know him as Brother Bri. Here is Brother Bri. What's happening?
What's going on, buddy?
Bri, I just spoke to Dean Blandino. He says hi. And, well, I'm wondering, which rule would you like to see changed?
I would like a golden bat. For the NFL, no.
Okay.
You know, it's the one thing I kind of hate is what the NFL has become, right? With the kickoffs pretty much going to the 30-yard line, with kickers being able to kick 62-yard field goals. I think it's weird to say this. I think the goalposts need to come in a little bit. I kind of hate the idea you can complete one pass and get 3 points. I know it sounds weird, but I'd rather see more touchtouchdowns.
Come in, you mean come in just facing this way, not come in closer to the field.
No,
okay,
definitely not widthwise.
All right, good. I would have put in for
Make it a harder kick. Make it a harder.
Yeah, I would like a rule where I can't lose a bet in the last 10 seconds of a football game. Right? Let's see if we can push that through. All right, listen.
We still need some insurance.
I know.
We need
the bad beat insurance. All right, let's get to these Week 15 NFL games, starting with Houston and Miami. This is a good one. I feel like there are 7 or 8 good ones. We saw one last night. Houston, 2.5-point favorite, 46.5 against Miami. 6-7 Dolphins, 8-5 Texans. I'm equally unimpressed by both teams. I had the Fins on a teaser last week. Barely survived that. C.J. Stroud's played okay at that quarterback position. Some might argue that Bryce Young in the last month has played better than Stroud. Being picked first might make sense. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not taking a side. I'm going player prop. Tyreek Hill, longest catch under 24 yards. You get it at 23.5. He's gone under this number in 4 of the last 5. Greater than 28 in only 4 of 13 games. So he's not really, no rearing back and throwing the Z fly pattern to Tyreek Hill these days. Not in the playbook. The DJ ripped it out. He ripped it out there. Houston second in the league defensively with 6 yards per pass. That number drops to 5.5 at home. Hill's longest, 23 or less. What do you have?
Yeah, I like that one. So I think the Dolphins, everything is pretty much short at this point. But I'm going to take the Dolphins with an adjusted line of getting 3.5 points at -132. You know, this Texans team, when was the last time they played great, Sal? I know some people might say they looked better in that Cowboys game, but even that game was kind of closer than you thought. Stroud is not having the same year he had last year. I mean, last year there was a lot of magic on his side. But look, the Dolphins are in must-win mode right now. They won 4 of the last 5. I think indoors they're going to be super fast, cause some problems. The one thing I'd be worried about with the Dolphins, though, they just don't get a ton of pressure on quarterbacks. But I do think this is a rather high-scoring game. Both teams maybe in the upper 20s, back and forth, super close. But I'll take the Dolphins getting 3.5.
All right, Casey in Cleveland. This is in Ohio. Kansas City 4.5-point favorite. 43.5 is the over/under. This is a hilarious matchup. The team that wins all the time but can't cover versus the team who is Jameis is a whirling dervish. He can go from winning big to getting crushed on a teaser in like 3 minutes. It's terrific. Bri, I'm doing it. I'm taking the Browns plus the points. Like I said, anything could happen this game. Jameis could have an errant throw and knock Taylor Swift out from her visiting luxury box. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have questions about the Chiefs secondary. Bryce Young went for 260 plus. O'Connell, your boy, went for 340. Herbert missed some wide open deep balls last week. He could have gone for 350. So I think Jameis has a decent, typical gunslinger type game with Judy, Elijah Moore, and Njoku benefiting, and it's a one-score 29-26 Chiefs win. But give me the points.
Oh, 29-26. You have this super exciting. I'm actually going under the 43.5 here, Sal. And I think the Chiefs try and make this a boring game for Jameis Winston, and how dare they? But I think you're going to get your 1 or 2 turnovers, I think, from Jameis here. And I think the thing is the Chiefs are going to have a tough time, I think, on the line versus the Browns. So this is going to lead to a lot of short passes, long, 12-play drives by the Chiefs, maybe even longer, field goals for the Chiefs. And again, the Chiefs do a good job in the red zone defensively. So it's possible. I think we could get another 19-17 game for the Chiefs here. Maybe make it 3 in a row at 19-17. So I'm going to go under.
That's right.
I'm going to go under 43.5.
Okay. 7 in a row that they haven't covered. Remarkable. Carolina, 2.5-point favorite. Yes, I said that right. Over Dallas, 42.5 is the over-under. There's been lots of low points for Dallas this year, Bri. There's Micah getting hurt earlier in the year, Dak going out, the roof falling apart, missed fake punts, the sun blinding the receivers, McCarthy keeping his job. But a new low was this past Sunday night, when we went over the line, Simmons and I, and it was 1.5. The Panthers were favored over the Cowboys. And now it's 2.5. So that's a new low. And it's going to be a new low when the Panthers actually beat the Cowboys. But I'm not taking a side. I know that the offense, I don't know that they can play with venom, that the defense was like Monday. So I'm going to stay away. Here's a prop, though. Bryce Young rushing over 13 yards. It seems strange. He's done this in 4 straight. He's been playing an entirely different game, like I mentioned earlier. They've lost 3 in a row by a total of 12 points. They feel they could win. Bryce wants to do a solid job so that he could hold on to his. Locke had 57 yards rushing against Dallas. Daniels at 74. Stroud at 26. Hurts at 56. This is all in the last month or like 5 weeks. This number's miserably low, but I'm going to bite. Bryce Young over 13.5 yards rushing. You have a rushing prop, too.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Rico Dowdle over 86.5 rushing yards here, Sal. And the reason, look, the Cowboys have been better lately, and a lot of that has to do with the run game, and Dowdle's been the big part of that, big reason. He is averaging 110 yards rushing per game over the last 3 games. And the one thing with the Panthers, even though they have played better, they have been terrible against the run. Over the last 3 games, they're averaging giving up more than 200 yards per game. I think McCarthy will take advantage of that in this game. So I'm going to go Dowdle over 86.5. And look, the one thing I would say, Sal, is probably any time the Panthers are favored, I'd probably go the other way.
Yeah, probably. But what if they played the Cowboys? I don't know. All right. Washington and New Orleans. This one's not great. Washington 7.5-point favorite. 43.5 is the over-under. This is in the Big Easy. Washington 8-6 off a bye. Probably 2 more wins to make the playoffs. Saints 5-8. They crushed the Giants 14-11 last week. Pitiful. But I do like New Orleans over 17.5. This is a real head-scratcher of a bet. The Commies are 29th in red zone defense, 27th versus the run. I know Kamara is iffy, but Kendra Miller found the end zone last week. Probably no Carr here, almost definitely. We got Hayner, we got Rattler splitting first team reps Wednesday and Thursday. I don't trust Washington and this big number on the road. 6 road games, and they've only allowed less than 22 points once, and that's the 22 was the Giants. I think New Orleans could score. They'll figure it out. High scoring 27-23. The Clogger has something in store for Washington. Give me New Orleans over 17.5. What do you have?
Sal, I'm going to take the Commanders minus 1.5 in the first quarter. I do think, it's a harder full game to pick here. But the Commanders have been one of the best first quarter teams in the NFL. On the season, their first quarter point differential is plus 4 points per game. And in their last 3 games, they have outscored their opponents 31-0 in the first quarter. So without Derek Carr here, I think I'd expect the Saints to get off to a slow start. So give me the Commanders minus 1.5 in the first quarter.
All right, Cincinnati at Tennessee. Cincinnati beat the Cowboys. Lucky cover last week against the Cowboys in the last seconds of the game. Cincinnati 4.5-point favorite. 46.5 is the over-under at Tennessee. Like I said, Titans looked extra awful versus the Jags last week. Neither of these teams is making the playoffs, let's face it. And I'm taking another pretty uninspiring team, the Tennessee Titans, plus 4.5. I know everybody gets excited about Chase and Burrow, but Cincinnati has the 29th best or worst scoring defense. It shouldn't be giving up points on the road to anyone. Titans defense, most surprising unit in the NFL, considering what their record is. They've allowed 17 points per game over the last 4 in Nashville. Lou Anarumo's defense, a joke, over 5.5 yards per play against Dallas, Bri. This is not a bet against Burrow. I wouldn't do that, but I'm taking the 4.5. We might even see an upset. I'm going to say 23-21. What do you like?
Yeah, I know you hate the Bengals. I'm going to go, I took this the last time I did the pod. I'm going back to the well, taking Westbrook-Ikhine, anytime touchdown at plus 270. He took the week off last week.
He almost killed me in fantasy. I put him in the lineup, almost really thanks to you. I did nothing, yeah.
Well, that's the thing with him, right? It's like pretty much one big play here. It's such a weird receiver, right? 8 touchdown receptions in his last 9 games. And then you got to factor in, right, how bad this Bengals defense is. They've given up 24 passing touchdowns on the season. So I think Westbrook-Ikhine, plus 270, great value for a guy that scored this much so far this year.
Okay, maybe not a lot of great value in this game. Jets at Jags. Jetropolitans laying 3.5 on the road. 40.5 is the over-under. Jets blew that game in Miami last week, but I'm not laying the points. Jets 6-18 against the spread last 24. 4-10 against the spread last 14 versus the Jaguars. Mac Jones does a respectable job. Jacksonville wins 26-21. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to take a player prop here. I'm going to go Braylon Allen, anytime touchdown at plus 155. With Hall out last week, Allen had 15 touches for 83 yards, even though Isaiah Davis got the touchdown. Hall's status is still iffy. He has not practiced at all this week. So the Jaguars, though, they're a team that's been very bad against the run again. So I expect Allen to get more of a workload in this game. And the Jags have given up 15 rushing touchdowns on the season. So I'm going to go Braylon Allen to get one of them at plus 155.
All right, last game, early afternoon, Baltimore, 16.5. It opened at 14.5. 42.5 is the over-under at New York Giants, MetLife. This is a good team, really good team, I think, coming off a loss and a bye versus a team that just cannot win under any circumstances. They can't figure it out, and I don't know that they want to at this point. It's been a while since the Ravens really thumped the team. They beat the Broncos 41-10 over a month ago. The Giants are due for a thumping, Brian. I'm going to take an adjusted number, Baltimore minus 23.5. You get plus 235 for that. New York 32nd scoring offense. They average under 14 points. I think they only have like 6 or 7 touchdowns. And this at home. This is a statement game for Baltimore. No talk of Justin Tucker. It's not going to matter. They're just going to lay it on and keep laying it on. Lamar will run for 2, throw for 3. 41-9 final, Bri. Lay the 23.5 adjusted. What do you have?
Yeah, I like that because I'm taking the Ravens minus 16.5. And do you know how bad you have to be a home team?
Yeah. Getting
16.5 points to a team that is not even in first place in their division. It's pretty crazy. But I'm still going the Ravens here. This has the feeling to me of like that Bucs game, Bucs blowout 3 weeks ago with the Giants there. I just don't see how the Giants are going to be able to stop them. I feel like Henry has a ridiculously good game in this one. And, this Giants, their defense right now, it looks like their defense is pretty much completely banged up. If I was looking at a player prop, I'd look at Henry, maybe 2+ touchdowns in this game. But I think this is like a 34-13 game. That doesn't cover your 23.5.
Oh,
Covers
no
my
good.
16.5.
Then I do need Tucker to make a field goal. All right, Bri, let's take a quick break. We're going to get to the late afternoon and night games. So many good ones when Cousin Sal's winning weekend continues. Back to Cousin Sal's winning weekend, still hanging out with the Brother Bri from the Against All Odds podcast. Bri enjoying the last 2 weeks before his car traditionally gets repossessed. It's a Christmas tradition like an ugly sweater party. But let's get to the rest of this Week 15 slate. Two teams both battling it out for an AFC wild card. Anthony Richardson and the Colts head to Denver, take on the Broncos, who have won 3 straight. Denver, 3.5-point favorite at home. It's a good one. Easy path, I think, the rest of the way for the Colts if they win. Titans, Giants, and Jags. But I'm going to take a player prop here. Side is really driving me nuts. Cortland Sutton, anytime touchdown, plus 135. He's 154 away from 1,000, which is a nice milestone for him. He's been the go-to for Nick's 5 touchdowns on the year. He scores every other week. KC took off. Las Vegas took off. Now he's due. Colts 26 against the pass. They've allowed 17 touchdowns. Should be a fun one at Mile High. Give me Sutton to score, plus 135, Brett.
Yeah, I'm going to take Denver minus 3.5. I'm actually surprised that this line isn't higher, Sal. You know, they've won 3 straight. Denver's won 3 straight by at least 9 points. Best team against the spread this season, going 10-3. You know, both teams I know coming off a bye, but at home. And the Colts look 2-4 in their last 6. They're 2 wins though, right? They beat the Pats and the Jets by 1 point on the road in each of those games. So I think the Broncos, I hate to say it, I think they're pretty legit here. So I'm going to back them laying the 3.5.
All right, Arizona, 6.5-point favorite, 46.5 versus New England. Cardinals with their loss to Seattle now almost 10-1 to make the playoffs. Patriots are done. From what I'm hearing, Bill Belichick is gone. He's not even going to be there next year. I'm taking New England in the points. Oh boy, I'm taking a lot of bad teams here. But Kyler has been bottom 6 or 7 quarterbacks in EPA over the last month or so. They have a lot of trouble moving the ball. I don't want to be in a position where I'm giving points. There's always Drake May backdoor cover potential here. I don't want to say he thrives in the second half, but definitely better. Pats have covered 4 of the last 6, 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 against Arizona, and it's all the same players as it's been in those 9 games. Now, 24-20, I'll take the upset. New England wins, but give me the points. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like the Pats too with the points here, but I'm going to take a prop in Kyler Murray under 1.5 passing touchdowns. You know, with Kyler, you just don't know from one game to the next, but I do find this line is a little bit interesting. You know, he did throw 2 touchdowns against the Seahawks, but he's only thrown 2 or more touchdowns in 3 of 13 games this season.
All right, Chargers home. Here's one of the good ones. 3-point favorite. Tampa Bay comes to town. 45.5 is the over-under. Should be 2 playoff teams. Chargers with the doink loss. Bucks laid waste to Bry's Raiders last week. I think this is a 1-score game. It'll be low scores. Justin Herbert, very good. But he plays under games. 19 out of his 26 starts all have gone under. The under's 11-4 in the Chargers' last 15. Baker up against the Chargers' number 1 scoring defense, which allows 16 points a game. 19-17 final. There's that number again, Bri. I think this goes way under.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the Chargers here with an adjusted line at minus 2.5 at minus 120. You know, the Chargers 9-4 against the spread, 4-2 against the spread at home, and they are 3-0 against the spread against the NFC South. So I really like them in this spot here. They have the home crowd for really the first time. When you listen to these games, It's weird hearing a crowd root for the Chargers. But look, coming off that close loss to the Chiefs, and then Bucks barely surviving a game against Carolina. So I think it roles reverse a little bit here. I trust Harbaugh in this spot a lot. I do think it's a rather low-scoring game, but I think they cover the field goal here, so.
All right, great one here. Keystone Kickoff Classic. Philly, 5.5-point favorite against the Steelers. 42.5 is the over-under. Eagles have the 2 seed in the NFC. Steelers on the outside looking in at the 2 seed in the AFC. Steelers beat up the Brownies. The Eagles perhaps looking ahead to this game struggled with Carolina. This is a weird pick by me because I know Tomlin is so good. Babyface, plug your ears here. He's so good as an underdog, but I think this is a letdown game for the Steelers in Philly. Minus 9.5. I'm going adjusted. No one's doing this. Plus 164. Different teams over the years, I get it, but Pittsburgh's lost 10 straight in Philadelphia. 0-9 against the number in the city of brotherly love, and I think they get behind early. AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts make nice versus that 23 ranked pass defense. Russ struggles when he goes down early, and no Pickens probably. So here we go, 30-16. I'm going to lay the 9.5 adjusted.
I like that, Sal. Yeah, and I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown and pretty much a pick 'em. You know, and at this point, Sal, if Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen, if you have a line that's pretty much a pick 'em plus money, you have to take it, right? Hurts has a rushing touchdown in 7 of his last 8 games, and in those 8 games, he has 11 rushing touchdowns. Really insane for a quarterback. And look, Sal, you know I have Barkley now in this big fantasy league we're in, which means Hurts is definitely going to steal at least one of these touchdowns. So I like it. It's pretty much a pick 'em.
Here's another thing you could do. Hurts is plus 190, I mentioned in Wager Rager, to have the most rushing touchdowns this year. I think he's tied for the lead right now. So, and it doesn't look like it's going to change with the 1 yard push anytime soon. All right, this is the game of the week. Detroit, home for Buffalo, 2.5-point favorite. 54.5 is the over-under. This was my preseason Super Bowl prediction. I'm going to take a lap right now. I know there's a lot to play, but it's looking good so far. I also predicted that they would meet up in the regular season. That, I may have had a heads up there. Number 1 seed in the NFC, number 2 in the AFC. I'm taking the coward's way out and going with the teaser, Bills plus 8.5 and over 48.5. Last 5 Bills games have averaged 58 points. And guess what? They're not getting blown out in any of these games either. Josh Allen won't let them. We saw evidence of this against the Rams last week. Maybe the Lions are better, but I don't think 10 points better. 31-27 type game, Bri. Lots of firepower. Both offenses in that dome on Sunday. What do you like?
Yeah, this is a great game, Sal. And this is your Super Bowl pick, right? For this season?
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm going to take the Bills getting, I'm doing an adjusted line going up to the 3.5. Even though I like them in the 2.5, I feel more comfortable here with the 3.5. But it kind of makes sense that the Bills had a little bit of a letdown game, right, last week against the Rams, especially coming off that snow game against the 49ers. But even in that game, though, I was impressed with the Bills in that they battled back. That was a game they could have quit at any point in time. And on the other side, this Lions team, right, won 11 straight. Defense has a lot of injuries right now. They won the last 2 games by 3. I think they're, you know, I know they're playing great, but I feel like one of these weeks they're going to lose one of these games. I do think the Bills pull off the upset in this one, but I prefer the 3.5 points, so.
It's a fun one, and here's another one. This is the Sunday night game. Green Bay at Seattle. A little bit of a surprise of a line here, but I'm going to go with it. Green Bay minus 2.5 on the road. 46.5 is the over-under. Packers kind of in no man's land, almost definitely looking at a 6 seed, I think. Seattle, with their win last week, control their own destiny in the NFC West. I like the Packers here. Should be a big Josh Jacobs game. Seattle's defense, 4th worst in the league, averaging 4.7 yards a carry. Matt LaFleur, 16-9 straight up when he has extra time to prepare. He's like a kid with ADD. You give him some extra time, that's all. He's going to do well on a test. Geno Smith, actually worse at home. 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. We're in front of the 12th man, which I don't even know if that exists anymore. No advantage. Pack pulls off the upset 23-17. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with player prop and take Geno Smith under 34.5 passing attempts. This is a game that I think might have a lot of big plays, Sal, but not necessarily a lot of passing attempts. I think both teams are going to want to run the ball. And look, the way Charbonnet ran the ball last week would be smart for Seattle to continue to do that. But regardless, if you look at Smith's stats, right, he's not thrown more than 34 passes in 7 straight games, though. And early in the season, right, they came from behind a little bit. They had to throw a lot more, but now they're a little bit more well-balanced. I think both teams tried to run the ball a lot in this game, so I'm going to go under 34.5 passing attempts for Geno.
All right. 2 Monday night games, Brian. I like it because that means there's one less early kickoff, and the Mikey Meatballs and I scrambling to fit games on screens. Yep. There's 7 instead of 8. I love it. Fine. Make it 2. Minnesota, Chicago. Bears got rolled last week in San Francisco. The Vikings trucked the Falcons. Vikings won a close one in Chicago, 30-27 the first time they met up last month. I don't know, was this a Hail Mary game or one of the 17 block field goal games? I imagine it was one of the block field goal games. I think that's what it was. I'd be all over the Vikings, but I feel like something's weird with this Bears team. You know, some of these bad teams, they have one more bullet left, right, to screw things up, to upset the playoff apple cart. I'm not saying they're actually going to upset the Vikings, but let's face it, this is going to be a Vikings 1-score win. You would disagree with me. I'm taking Chicago +7 here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings -7. Like, the Vikings very good against the spread this year, 8-4-1. The Bears 1-4-1 against the spread on the road. And I think the one thing about this, I've not been a full believer in this Vikings team, but if you make a mistake on this team It seems like they always capitalize, especially late in these games. And I think this is a team you have to play really well on both sides of the ball.
So you think the Bears are going to make a mistake? Is that what you're saying?
I do. And right, they couldn't have looked worse in the last game, right? The thing was, you expected with the new coach last week, they'd come out, play really hard, really physical, pretty much the exact opposite, got beat up. This Vikings team, though, just continues to be underrated. I can't underrate them anymore. Maybe in the playoffs I will, but not in the regular season here. So I'm going to lay the 7 with Minnesota.
All right, now the second game, Atlanta, -3.5. They go to Vegas and play your Raiders, Bri. I feel like they just forgot about this game. Like, oh, man, we have an extra game. We have nowhere to put it. We have no spot for it. Let's add it to the late Monday night slate and see if anyone notices. Like I said, 3.5, 44.5. Falcons playing themselves out of playoff contention. Your team did this in September. They were out of playoff contention. I don't dare go near this spread because I'm not trusting the Falcons here. I'll take a player prop. Jacoby Myers under 62.5 yards. 2 reasons I like this. First of all, he's gone under this number of 6 of his last 7 played in Vegas, averaging 55 over that stretch. And 2, and most importantly, I have to play him in my fantasy playoff game against John Hamm and our friend Trevor. So this is either a goose egg or a 1 for Jacoby Myers. We're going to go under 62.5. What do you like here?
I don't know why, Sal, but I'm going to back the Falcons here at -3.5. You know, the Raiders, I know it. Being a Raiders fan, any Raiders fan knows, like, they're trying so hard to lose this top 2 pick. They're trying so hard, like, I can feel it. The fact that O'Connell, who seemed like he was out for the season, you know, now you don't know. He might play in this game. I don't know. But look, the Raiders have lost 9 straight. They did get killed twice to the lowly NFC South, I should say. But the reason I kind of like the Falcons in this game is this game has to be a good Cousins game. Because if Cousins gets off to a slow start or struggles, I think the Falcons should go to Penix right away, right? I think this is a perfect game for them. So I do expect Cousins to be better. He'll probably start throwing 50, 60 mile per hour throws all over the Raiders here. So I will take the Falcons, Sal, at -3.5.
All right, and the big wild card here is our director Travis is attending this game. He doesn't have to either. It's not even like he's working. He just chose to go.
Why.
It's not
I don't know why he's going.
He's a crazy, crazy person. All right, great job, Bri. You'll always be a top 3 member of the D trifecta in my book. We're going to be right back to wrap things up on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. All right, welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Hey, I could talk gambling all day, but unfortunately, FanDuel only gives us this 1 hour a week. But I'll continue to do it off air by myself at home in my pantry beside the bulk-sized goldfish crackers. My thanks to Dean Blandino. He's really doing the impossible, bringing fans and officials together. And to Brother Bri for giving us NFL picks. I'm betting on at least one of those 15 bets he gave out to hit. And most importantly, thanks to all of you for watching and listening. And please, always remember, you may feel like an underdog, but just know you're all my favorites. Happy handicapping.